Welcome back to the Crash Course Podcast. My name is Craig Crash Collins, joined as always by Brandon Scott, otherwise known as B. Scott. We've got a lot to get into tonight for you. We're going to talk a lot of IndyCar as the season opened up this past weekend in Alabama, the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama. It was a lot of fun. It was a good race. So we're going to dive into that. We're also going to give our predictions on how we think the IndyCar season is going to pan out, give our championship predictions, our Rookie of the Year predictions, that kind of thing. And then also, in spirit of the NFL Draft, which we'll be spending a lot of time on here over the next couple of weeks, we are also going to do a draft of NFL uniforms. The Cincinnati Bengals released some new uniforms today, so we're going to be doing a uniform draft. It's all going to be very fun. B. Scott, glad you're here from this one. From last week, I wasn't sure if you're going to be able to make this podcast with how you're feeling.
I know. I was pretty down and out last week after getting my second vaccination, but hey, it's worth it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm getting mine later on in the week. We were talking about, we talking about it before we went on air tonight that, I get my shot later on this week, and I had my job move my days around because I know the second shot is the killer, but it'll definitely all be worth it. Crazy to think about, where we were last year as opposed to this year. So, good to be on the other side. And you know what? We're Moderna bros. So what can I say?
Both got the Moderna.
Exactly. So, that's just the way to go. There was somebody on TikTok that I saw that they put out a TikTok that was like, the whole like Moderna, Pfizer, and of course we all know the complications with like Johnson & Johnson, but like it kind of reminds you of Pokemon Go when it first came out. Like, are you the red team? Are you the blue team? Are you the yellow team? That's what they were like. It's kind of like the same thing where like people are like coming together within their own like vaccination like quadrants.
Yep, I got mine at a local Kroger. So anybody else that was sitting there with me, Team Moderna.
Moderna gang. Well, let's go ahead and hop right into it here. Very excited to get the IndyCar season back underway. Of course, we're just a couple of weeks away from the month of May. So we have a couple of races to get to before obviously that point in the season. It was the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama this past Sunday. Palou Award was your pole sitter. And these guys did not waste any time before a gigantic wreck happens. Joseph Newgarden gets a little loose. I think he said it was the dirty air that kind of caused him to get loose a little bit. He spins a big collision with Ryan Hunter-Reay. I saw an article, one of my pals, out in Colorado, big IndyCar fan, Spencer Frady. He said that, he sent me an article that was like basically saying that Ryan Hunter-Reay, like if it weren't for those new windscreens or those windscreens, like he who knows what would have happened. So
I think this is the second time, at least, that the aero screen has basically saved Ryan Hunter-Reay's life in a wreck, because I'm pretty sure it's the second time for him. Because if you look at the on-screen onboard camera for him, Joseph Newgarden's right front tire basically skims almost through what he would have almost gone through the cockpit, but instead bounced off the aero screen. Now, obviously this isn't the first time Ryan Hunter-Reay's had a car come at his cockpit before. Long time ago, back when he was first starting. I believe it was in the Indy 500 where, I forget the guy's name. He drove a car sponsored by Dad's Root Beer. So if you went by his garage, they were always handing out free root beer. It was great.
Yeah.
Mike Conway.
There you go.
Mike Conway.
There's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, but there was a wreck involving the two of them where Conway got airborne and barely missed Ryan Hunter-Reay's cockpit. So, but yeah, the aero screen, another success story for it.
Yeah, so good news there. Yeah, Spencer sent me the...
Also, real quick, about this wreck. So this wreck was a big wreck because you just don't see complete field wipeouts almost like this. And they kept going back to the replay, and in the back of the field was Jimmy Johnson. And he basically got on the brakes and coasted through. And the announcers were just like in awe of how he got through that wreck. And they're like, well, I guess it's because he's got experience driving through it. Like, it's like a Talladega wreck for him.
Right.
He knows how to get through wrecks like that because of races like Talladega. Like, yeah.
That is.
So I think that was kind of a cool thing, which before the season moves on, the announcers need to figure out that Jimmy John, which series Jimmy Johnson came from, because in the opener, I believe it was Paul Tracy that said, one of our rookies, 7-time IndyCar champ Jimmy Johnson.
No, not quite.
No, not quite. And then I know a friend of the show and a former colleague of ours, Nick Yeoman, said, he works for IndyCar Radio. I think it was Davey Hamilton that keeps saying that Jimmy Johnson is a 7-time Winston Cup champ. But I'll give him that one just because NASCAR changed the sponsorship so much throughout that time. I think most of them came with Jimmy Johnson were the Nextel Cup.
I think so, yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, I think
I don't think he won a Winston Cup.
Maybe
early on.
No, I'm trying to think of when his first one was, because I know it was like 04 or 05 was like the first one for Kurt Busch. I think Kurt Busch won the first Nextel Cup, I want to say, but I don't know for sure. But yeah, I think a majority. Now you make me
were Nextel.
Yeah. But yeah, it was. I think Nextel or Sprint, like they're majority of those two. But yeah, definitely. I don't. If he's got like one, maybe because it would have been like right at the tail end, if anything.
Yeah, I know he doesn't have any Monster.
No.
Or did he?
I don't know. Because he won when he won 7 straight, or not 7 straight, but when he won 7, it was like. Basically 7 straight. It was like 7 in like a 10-year span or whatever it was.
I know it was 6 straight. It was 6 straight, wasn't it?
Maybe. But yeah, he won basically all of his at once, and then
basically we would have a show like this, and you could just who's your champion? Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pretty much. That's how it would have gone back in the day.
Nearly a decade.
I mean, at least now, even though it's still, even now, you can say it's between like a few different drivers, but at least there's a couple of different drivers to choose from between like Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch and the like. But yeah. So yeah, big incident there on lap number 1. Takes out Joseph Newgarden, Felix Rosenqvist, Ryan Hunter-Reay, and Max Chilton. Restart happens on lap 6, but shortly thereafter, the second caution for Jimmy Johnson does end up coming out as he spins. Didn't even really do a full spin. He kind of did like a 180 in one of the turns.
And then he saved it. It came close to hitting the wall. It was kind of reminiscent of his spin that he had, I believe, in qualifying one year at Dover, where he spun it and saved it from hitting the wall. It was a pretty amazing save, but
hey, at least
all by himself. But I guess that's going to be kind of expected. It's basically one of his first times race conditions in that car.
Yeah, so. Yeah. I mean, he stuck through it. That's for sure. But
he said coming into it, he said that, hey, if I can finish all 90 laps, that is a win in my book.
And did he do that? Did he finish all 90 laps? Let's see.
He finished 19th, I believe so.
Well, I mean, yeah. But, I mean, was he a lap down? Oh, yeah, I guess everybody that was running at the end, besides James Hinchcliffe and Dalton Kellett, were... Oh, no, he was 3 laps down. So he technically was... I mean, he was racing at the end, but he just wasn't technically... He didn't technically complete all 90 laps.
I guess that's what he meant. If I can just finish the race and not get a DNF.
Yeah. Now you make me want to look up if he was, Nextel Cup, whatever. So I'm going to pull that up and try to look into it as we go here. But anyway, it was after that restart, it was smooth sailing the rest of the race. 10 lead changes among 5 drivers. Alex Palou led the most laps with 56. He took the lead on lap 67 from Pato O'Ward and didn't look back. The top five from Alabama. Alex Palou scores his first ever NTT IndyCar win. Will Power finishes second. Scott Dixon third. Pato O'Ward fourth. Sebastian Bourdais fifth. And then notable finishers, Alexander Rossi finishes ninth. Simon Pagenaud is 12th. And then, yeah, like we mentioned, Jimmy Johnson was 19th. I say notable just because it was his first race. I don't want to be like how NASCAR treated Danica, where like on ESPN you would see like the top three through top five, and then it would be like Danica 37th. And I'm like, you don't need to say that. You could have put like.
Well, it is noticeable, one, because it was his first race, and two, he's not going to race he's not out there every race. I mean, he's going to be out every road and street course, but he's not doing the ovals yet. They are looking into 2022, him running the 500, which I wish he would do that this year. I really wish he would do that this year.
Yeah.
I think.
Is he only running the Indy Road Course? Or is he running Indy at all? Yeah, okay.
He's running. I mean, every road and street course he's going to be on. So it means he will be at Indy twice this year, and I would expect him to have a very good race.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Dusty up in the chat asks if we think Jimmy Johnson is going to do better in IndyCar than NASCAR. I mean, no, there's no chance.
Well, no, he's not even racing full time.
Right.
I mean, you can't even. He's not even going to be eligible to win the championship. I mean,
right.
I guess.
And even if he was, I mean, he's not winning 7.
But he's so far behind the 8 ball now that he can't anymore. He would have had to basically almost like take majority of road and street course races for that to even be possible. But no, this is a retirement gig for him. It's just kind of, he loves racing and he's given something else a try where there's going to be really no pressure on him because he doesn't have to go out there and win a championship.
Right.
Just go out there and run, really.
By the way, speaking of Jimmy Johnson's championships, his first came in 2006 as the Nextel Cup. So he does not have any Winston Cup Series championships technically because they were all Nextel from there on out. So there's the situation there. But as far as the race goes, I thought it was a fun race. I mean, obviously a lot of action at the beginning. As far as the lead changes go, it was very action packed in the middle. It wasn't you think of you look at the box score of the race and you see that Alex Palou led 56 laps. You think, oh, it's one of those snooze fests where he just ran away with it. And there was at times sections of the race where he had a 5-6 second lead, but all in all,
and that wasn't because he ran away. It was because of strategy.
Right. So I mean, all in all, it was a fun race. A lot of action in the middle. That's when a majority of the lead changes happened. Like between lap 30, between lap 30 and lap 67 was where a majority of the action happened. And like you said, a lot of that due to pit stops. But still, it was a very fun race to watch. I definitely enjoyed it. And I mean, this is a fantastic start for Alex Palou. I mean, he had a forgetful 2020 save for Road America where he scored his only podium, finished third. He also finished 7th in the second race. And then he finished 16th in points last year. So obviously, I mean, one race doesn't define your season, whether it's good or bad. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's a great, as good of a start as you can have to your IndyCar season. And then Pato O'Ward, I didn't realize before I, kind of, looked into it a little bit more, like the Pato O'Ward actually had a pretty good 2020. So he actually keeps that momentum going. He scored 4 podiums last season. So here we go with another one this year. I guess not technically a podium this time, but a top 5. Road America twice at Gateway and St. Pete were his podiums last year, and then 4th in points in 2020. So I mean, he had kind of he kept that momentum going from last season, which was really nice to see. And then as far as the race goes, like I said, fun to watch. Great battle, between up and comers with Palou and O'Ward, as well as old vets Power and Bourdais. So it was nice to see that kind of good mix of the old and the new. As far as IndyCar goes, so very excited to see how this race turned out. A great way to open the 2021 IndyCar season.
Yeah, it was a great race. I mean, it was different to not be watching St. Pete, honestly, because that's just kind of what I'm used to. But starting off at Barber, I think that was a different kind of challenge. And then for all these rookie drivers in particular, that made a whole different set of challenges as well. But it was really interesting to listen to the commentators talking throughout the race. Basically, when you looked at the different strategies, and you could say, yeah, Palou kind of ran away with it in a sense, not because he was so fast or whatever, but mostly because himself and the other drivers for Ganassi during practice and testing honestly had the best tire management out of all the other teams. And so they were able to get their tires they got the most out of their tires to make them last longer. So they were able to go further. So when a lot of other people were going on a 3-stop strategy, they stuck to a 2-stop because they did not have the tire degradation like other teams were having. So that was a really good job by the engineers at Ganassi. And then looking at Palou and how he's come out of the gates this year, for a casual fan, you might go, wow, that's impressive. That's out of nowhere, really. But there were times last year where Alex Palou was up there early on in a race, and then he may have had some mechanical issues. I mean, this is a guy that was running for, I think it was Dale Coyne off and on last year. And then for Chip Ganassi to see him and see that potential in him and scoop him up, I mean, way to go for Chip there. That's a heck of a move for grabbing a rookie who, had his ups and downs, but great move. But throughout this offseason, he was consistently testing better and faster than even Scott Dixon. So I don't know if this is necessarily going to be a fluke from Alex Palou, and this could honestly be the starting point of something really special this year for him. Now, can he carry that over? We'll continue to see, because obviously, Joseph Newgarden's not going to wreck out on lap 1 of every race. Ryan Hunter-Reay is not going to get collected and things like that. Alexander Rossi's going to really find his groove, hopefully, because he had a rough year last year in his terms, and then Scott Dixon is Scott Dixon. He's going to come out strong as well. So can he continue that momentum? That's going to be a fun storyline to watch. Honestly, when I know we're going to talk a little bit about Rookie of the Year here in the future, but when I look at this rookie class this year, this is one of the stronger rookie classes out there. I mean, look at them. There's technically 3 rookies this year. You got Scott McLaughlin, a supercar champ from Australia. You got Roman Grosjean, who, if you watch any Formula One, or if you've ever watched the Netflix series Drive to Survive, you know about Roman Grosjean. Obviously, you can't say he was one of the top drivers, but if you're a Formula One driver, you're one of the top drivers. Let's be honest. You are. So he was a consistent Formula One driver. Oh, and then you got 7-time NASCAR champ Jimmy Johnson. I mean, has there ever been a more heralded or more regarded rookie class in IndyCar? Now, the only downside I'm looking at with this rookie class is Jimmy Johnson's not going to be a permanent fixture. Is Roman Grosjean? Is he going to be a permanent fixture? Or is he going to pick up and bolt the minute that a Formula One ride opens up? And then Scott McLaughlin's probably the only one that's got staying power, it feels like. So it doesn't really do much for the future of the sport, but it does really draw in different fans and more fans for this year. So I think that's good for the future of the sport in that sense. But as far as future drivers go, but if you look at it, this field is so young already. It is not that. I mean, there are the older guys. You still got Dixon, you still got Power, and you still got Sato and Hunter-Reay. But I mean, look, the 2 guys we're talking about the most from this past weekend, Alex Palou and Pato O'Ward, young guys. Colton Herta, young guy. So that's great for this sport, and I'm super excited about that. But I think this was definitely a good start for the season. I'm so glad they don't have a week off. I'm glad they're going right to St. Pete this next weekend. Keep up that momentum going into the month of May.
Yeah, I think when I was looking at it, Scott McLaughlin is the only rookie that is at least on the docket for every race this year. The rest, the other 2 are not racing.
I didn't know Grosjean. Well, I guess Grosjean with Yeah, he's not doing ovals.
Yeah, technically, yeah, they're not doing like Jimmy Johnson and Grosjean are both doing just road courses only. So,
Which
so that'll
makes
be
sense with Grosjean. I'm still surprised Johnson's not
yeah.
doing
I mean,
ovals.
I guess you did say it's a. I mean, obviously it's a retirement thing for him. So maybe just the challenge of it. Like you only had in NASCAR, you only had 2 road courses a year with Sonoma and Watkins Glen. So maybe just hey,
No,
I've
now
been.
there's like 7 now.
Are there? Oh, I guess for the Roval and
You
Daytona
got the
Oval. Yeah,
Roval,
yeah,
you
yeah,
got
yeah.
Daytona, you got Indianapolis.
Well, Indianapolis is first year for it. So Jimmy Johnson's never raced on the
I know,
on the
that's what I'm
Indianapolis
saying. But
circuit.
I'm saying this year you've got like 7.
Right,
So
which is good. I think that's a good thing. I mean the sad part is that like because they can't really justify making their cars less safe by going to the old cars and just keeping the Hans device. They have to they have to kind of create the excitement elsewhere by creating passing with the actual tracks themselves instead of like with the cars themselves. Like so, there's more opportunities to pass on road courses, or at least on some, as opposed to where they would normally be racing elsewhere. So yeah. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, maybe that's just what Jimmy Johnson's doing. Like, hey, I've been on ovals my entire career, and it's time to branch out and only do road
I
courses.
also think an oval in an Indy car is a much different beast than an oval in a stock car.
True.
And I think he probably wants to get a little bit more practice and testing done underneath it. I wouldn't be surprised in early on practice days if Jimmy Johnson got in somebody's car
Yep.
for 500 and took a couple laps just to see
Yeah.
what it's like.
Now is
But
he able to like if he gets in, he's like, oh, I can do this. Can he do that? Can he
no,
like? Okay, I didn't think so, but
I mean,
I mean,
they would have to make that decision here soon because I think the deadline for entries. Well, I mean, I've seen cars get entered in like the weekend of.
yeah, that's what I'm
It seems
saying.
like.
Um, or like maybe somebody like gives up their ride or something. Potentially.
But who are you going to ask to give up your ride?
I don't know, but maybe somebody
I know.
will.
I'm just thinking. I mean, if there's a team that could put the car together and at a moment's notice and get it ready for the Indy 500, it is Ganassi. I mean,
Yeah.
they got the funds, they got the sponsors all lined up. Now the thing is though, is the sponsor paying for that time?
Yeah.
So you got to get Carvana to actually agree to say, oh yeah, we'll run it the 500.
Hey, you know what? Honestly, though, like even if Carvana says
You
no,
could even go out there with sponsorless if you really wanted to.
you could, but then you could also be like, "Hey, Lowe's, for old time's sake, let's get the boys back together. Let's get a little Lowe's."
Lowe's isn't even in racing.
Are
They're
they?
not sponsoring anybody right now.
Yeah, it's true because
The 48 is Ally.
yeah. I was trying to think. I was like, purple. I know my dumb brain was like, it's just purple. I know it's purple. I don't remember what the sponsor is, but it's purple. But yeah. So I mean, hey, Lowe's, let's get this done. Because I think that'd be pretty sharp for sure.
Oh,
I mean,
and, and added to it, it's always Ganassi versus Penske. So you got the Lowe's car out there against the Menards car from Penske.
there you go. Just a natural rival. Just natural rivals like there. I'm digging it. Well, B. Scott, why do we always get amped up for things that we know aren't going to happen? We just do. But they would be so awesome,
Dreamers,
though.
man. We're dreamers.
We're dreamers. We just want it to happen. When we come back from getting into our friends of the show, we're going to talk more about the IndyCar season, give our predictions. But first, let's go ahead and hear from those friends of the show real quick, and then we'll be back. The Crash Course Podcast is brought to you by Anchor. Looking to start a podcast but don't know where to start? Look no further than Anchor.fm. Anchor allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your computer or mobile device and will distribute it to other sites such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. On a budget, not only is Anchor completely free of charge, but will allow you to make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor.fm to get started. Anchor, it's everything you need in a podcast in one place.
Are you tired of your same old lunch hour of sitting and scrolling through your apps on your smartphone? Have you thought about playing a board game with your coworkers? Eat Lunch and Board Game is a podcast dedicated to telling you about board games that are great for lunchtime fun and some that are probably better saved for after work hours. I've been playing games at my office for over 4 years now, where I have made new friends and business connections that have been very useful. Board games build bridges.
All right, so we talked about the opening race of the IndyCar season. Now we're going to take kind of a broader approach here, look at the rest of the season, give our predictions. But before we do that, we want to remind you that you can follow us on Twitter at Crash Course FM, like us on Facebook, Crash Course Podcast. Go subscribe to us on YouTube, 3C Media. We hit 30 subscribers, so get excited about that. We're really excited there. That's where you can find the MCT Podcast, which is a podcast that comes out every weekend. A YouTube exclusive, so go check that out. You can also see, if you miss our live broadcast on twitch.tv/3C Media, you can go over to 3C Media to look at that as well, where we upload the podcast there. And then we also upload it on Anchor every week, where you can go hear it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever podcasts can be heard, you can hear the Crash Course Podcast. So let's look at the IndyCar season, give our predictions here, and we'll get right into it here. You mentioned Scott Dixon a little bit, as far as, guys that'll still be there in contention, and that's kind of the first question. A hot or cold question here. Scott Dixon will repeat as IndyCar champion. Obviously, he had an amazing season last year, one of the best. I think that gave him 7 too, right? Does he have 7, or how many does he have now? He has 6 or 7, I think.
I don't know. I don't want to misspeak. I'll look real quick.
He's won. I know he won 18 and 20, and he won 2008, I believe, in 13. So those are at least 4. But he's had an amazing year last year. Comes back this year
6 times.
6
He was
times.
a 6-timer.
So could he win potentially his 7th? Had a good run at Alabama this past weekend, but that's actually for me going to be a cold take for a podcast that's usually very Scott Dixon friendly, as far as talking about him being one of the great athletes of all time, one of the greatest IndyCar drivers of all time, that kind of thing. This is actually a cold take for me. Scott Dixon, in those 6 titles that he's won, he's never won back-to-back titles. Alex Palou opened a lot of eyes this weekend, which he's also in that Chip Ganassi stable with Dixon. And then you've got guys like Joseph Newgarden, Simon Pagenaud, who got off to a rough start this weekend, but are tough contenders. And what's funny is, if you want to look at kind of trends here, Scott Dixon and Joseph Newgarden have alternated titles. Newgarden won in 2017, Scott Dixon in 18, Newgarden in 19, Dixon in 20, and then who knows in 2021. So that's kind of my take on it. Not saying, obviously, Scott Dixon is, I think, one of the favorites. That was originally going to be the question for hot and cold, and then I was like, of course he's going to be, that's an easy hot take there, because of course he's going to be in contention, because he is almost every year. But as far as, if he's my pick, and if I think he will be the champion at the end of the year, I'm going to have to go with the cold take on that one.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a cold take as well. I don't know necessarily if it's going to be Joseph Newgarden, but Scott Dixon's never won back-to-back. So just the trend says he will not. Would I be surprised if he did win back-to-back? No, not at all. I mean, he's doing what he's supposed to do to be able to win another championship, and that's even when he has a quiet day, he's still podiumed. And that's the thing that's so tough about Scott Dixon, is the fact that he's just so consistent, and that's what makes him so hard to beat when it comes to a championship. But I'm only going to say cold just because the trend of his career says he won't, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it too. Like it's never happened before, so to say, it would be a hot take and he's going to win it would be to be banking on something that's never happened before, but that doesn't mean, there's things that don't happen before that happen all the time. So, right. So who knows, obviously Scott Dixon will be in contention and be one of the drivers that'll be, right there in the thick of the championship hunt. What race are you most excited for in 2021? There's a couple of new races on the season, or a couple of tracks that they're going back to for the first time in a while, that kind of thing. Really excited about this season just in general. Obviously it's really, be really easy to go the route of, the fact that they're going to Indianapolis for 3 times this year. That's going to be really cool. But for me, I like the Nashville Street Circuit. It's the inaugural event, which means, hey, new tracks, more eyes on the sport, means the sport is growing, expanding. So that's really nice to see, especially because we talked about a lot of the podcasts last year how, the fact that IndyCar and NASCAR even were able to still continue their sports while other sports couldn't because of COVID, would actually be really good for those sports. And I think that, I don't want to say that Nashville, the fact that racing in Nashville is a direct cause of that, but at the same time, it's nice to see them, not only getting an opportunity to get a new track on the schedule, but also, Nashville's a beautiful city. They'll be, racing on the streets of Nashville, which will be really cool. And then also,
and if you haven't heard from James Hinchcliffe, they're driving on a bridge.
Yeah,
they're going to be driving on a bridge.
I wondered if that was this one. I tried to get like a good aerial view of the course they would be taking, and of course it was just like little drawn maps and stuff. But yeah, that'll be pretty
over
cool.
The Cumberland.
That'll be pretty cool. I'm excited for that. It's also race 12 of 17, which means the championship chase will be starting to take shape a little bit more and be. Obviously it's not really into the stretch run, but it is going to be where you're going to be starting to think about, okay, what does each driver have to do to put them in position to win that championship down the stretch here. So I'm really excited for the race at Nashville.
I am too. I can't wait. I think that's great. It's what is that again? That is August 8th.
Yeah. Yeah, thinking about going. Got to get those tickets.
Well, I'm already thinking about going the next week. As it is, I want to go for the full weekend because it's IndyCar, Xfinity, and Monster Cup. Or are they Monster?
Oh, is that the same weekend there that
double header weekend? Everybody's on the road course this year, so I want to see that. I think I'm going to say that weekend just because of the fanfare behind it. And
wait, NASCAR's also going to be on the road course?
Yep, they're doing the Brickyard on the road course this year.
No,
they're not doing oval.
No, I'm saying. I thought you were talking about Nashville. Still,
I'm talking about IMS.
Okay, that's what I thought you meant. Okay, I thought you meant. Yeah, okay, I got you. I thought you meant I was like, I knew NASCAR was going back to Nashville, but I didn't. I was like, didn't think they were going on the road course too, but.
No, I'm talking about IMS. I'm going with that weekend, the August 14th weekend, on the IMS road course. I know it'll be their 3rd time back there, but I went to that doubleheader in October last year, and that was just a cool experience. It not being May, and it was one. It was also the sign that sports were kind of coming back because people were allowed in the stands, and I didn't care that it was 48 degrees and raining during the sports car race. I was sitting out there in the stands drinking a beer. Either way, I didn't care. It was probably the dumbest move of my life, one of my dumbest moves, but I didn't care because I was sitting there watching racing. But I think that's that weekend I'm most excited about because last year they did that double header, and there weren't fans allowed. And I know everybody just loved that idea. So I'm looking forward to that one the most, just because the fans that it's going to bring in a cross of the fans. And I'm excited to see if there's any other NASCAR drivers that may try to drive the IndyCar race, or if there's any IndyCar drivers that may try to drive the Xfinity race. I want to see if there's going to be any crossover there other than Jimmy Johnson. I think that one's just going to be a very, very exciting overall weekend, and really showcase the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, it is going to be.
Yeah, there's only one. For all the purists out there, Derek Daly, there is only one race. Well, I guess I can't say one race, but one big race on the road, on the oval at IMS this year.
Yeah.
There's the Freedom 100, which is fine. You always have that. And then the Indy 500. NASCAR is not going to be on the oval. Now, I know some of you purists even will go as far as to say, well, they're still going to be crossing the yard of bricks. Oh, get over that. Come on, sit down. Shut up. There's racing at IMS. Be glad. Be thankful.
Yeah.
You get to hear cars go fast, watch them go fast, and sit in the stands and enjoy a cold one. I mean, what more can you ask for?
I think it's funny too that like I mean, and I know that there's people like that like hold that view, just like how there's some baseball fans because I mean I like the strategy of pitchers hitting, but I also understand that like it sucks that when you have like the bases loaded and the pitcher's coming up in like the third inning and you're like, oh cool, so this isn't going to be a run scoring situation because the pitcher's bad. Same thing with yeah, you could it's I understand why some purists might be like, oh well, there should be only one race at Indianapolis, but also the fact that at one point, I mean, you had F1 there, you had NASCAR there, you had everything. I mean, beat your chest about the fact that at one point, or like, and still like Indianapolis Motor Speedway was truly the like racing capital of the world, and still, I mean, is considered that. Like, I mean, the fact that like every series, the fact that NASCAR didn't just dip and say, you know what, this isn't working out. Attendance is bad. We're just gonna go somewhere else that's closer, or that's close by, so we can still get those fans.
I don't think NASCAR approached IMS about this idea.
Right. No, but I'm just saying that, like,
in
general,
sure Roger Penske approached NASCAR about this idea and said, "Look, the Xfinity race on the road course was some of the best racing we've seen in years with stock cars.
Yeah,
and I think you guys should try it with the big boys."
Yeah, I mean, and I'm excited for it. It's gonna be.
I'll tell you what I still want to see though on that track. Xfinity, we got that step closer. I want to see the trucks.
Oh yeah. I
don't know, maybe not, because those guys like to beat and bang so much. It might be too boring. Let's go back to the original ORP and get the truck set back out there again.
Oh man,
yeah.
Dude,
sit up in the top corner of coming out of turn 4, and you see the entire track. That's a beautiful spot.
I loved going to the truck race. I went with my dad. Started taking me back. I can't remember if it was the first year that I went, but I remember one of the years I went. Carl Edwards won. We got to see him like do the backflip. It was really cool. I was a big Jack Sprague fan at the time in those days because he drove 24, and when you're a Jeff Gordon fan, you're just like anybody who ever drives 24 is good with me. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I would love to see the trucks get back in some way, shape, or form. I mean, I can't even remember the last time because they raced. Did they race any on the Indianapolis Oval at all, or did they?
No.
Yeah.
No, they haven't.
Yeah, I was like once ORP went away, they went away.
Xfinity's only been there for I want to say 5 years.
Well, because there was a few years that Xfinity was on the Oval too.
Yeah, but it wasn't very much. It was only like maybe 4 years.
Yeah, it wasn't long at all. Yeah, because then they decided they were going to get rid of ORP entirely off the schedule, which was a bad move in my opinion.
Horrible move.
Yeah, but yeah, very exciting to see.
I guess I can understand it for Xfinity because Xfinity's not like it used to be. It's a big event now. But come on, keep the trucks there at least.
Oh yeah,
keep the trucks.
I miss the truck race a lot. So let's go ahead and get into our predictions. We're gonna give you guys who we think is going to win the championship, as well as a dark horse, and then our rookie of the year. So for our championship prediction, for me, I'm gonna go with Joseph Newgarden. Since 2017, Newgarden has finished no worse than 5th in points, which includes 2 titles, which, mentioned it earlier, has alternated between him and Scott Dixon, which, obviously that's not the only reason I'd like him to win this year, but definitely plays a factor. He also has 15 of his 18 wins since 2017, which means he's won at least 3 races per season. And I was looking back through his finishes over the years, and I was like, has he ever or has anyone really ever had a race or had the start to their season where they finished, had a terrible season opener, and then came back to win it. And I mean, I didn't go super far back, but I did find that in 2016, Joseph Newgarden finished 22nd in the season opener, and he finished fourth in points. So it is possible. I mean, it's always going to be possible, but I mean, he does have a history of not getting off to the greatest start as far as the season opener is concerned, and then battling back and having a good season points wise. So I'm going with Joseph Newgarden to win the title this year.
I'm actually going to go with Willpower. I know, shocker, my rival, Willpower. And that's mostly because he did get off to a good start this year. And one of the biggest things for Willpower is momentum. He either has it or he's falling apart. And it looks to be he's off to a good start. He's got that momentum going in the right direction now. And that helps build his confidence that we've seen in the past. So I would not be surprised to see Willpower at the end of the season as your champion.
Yeah, I mean,
there's so many. I think which is awesome. I think there's so many drivers that could win it this year. I don't think anybody's going to run away with it.
Oh yeah, it's going to be fun to watch for sure, and that's what makes who we think is going to be a dark horse that much more interesting. For me, it's Palou Award. He had a strong 2020, and I think he can keep things rolling into 2021. Just pretty much as simple as that. Had a great opening race. I mean, put as much stock into that as what you will, but he did have a great year, and he's kind of over the course of his last few seasons, he's been steadily improving. So I think if there's someone who can, make a run at it, it is Palou Award.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that as my dark horse as well. I went back and forth on this one, but between either him or Alexander Rossi. Rossi, for some reason, I can't put my finger on it. What is going on with him? I don't know. He just doesn't seem to be driving the same as he did early on in his career in IndyCar. I don't know why I feel that way, but it just doesn't feel like it doesn't feel the same. Something just feels off. I can't tell why. But when I look at Palou Award, I just got to look at his team. And McLaren is putting in a lot more money into the IndyCar program to get them up there being one of the top teams, which is awesome. Palou Award, as we know, he knows how to win. I mean, he was doing it a lot in Indy Lights. He's a young, talented driver. He's got one of the better strategists, not named Tim Cindric out there, and Taylor Kyle, or team president, team manager, whatever. I'm not sure what he is now. I know he just got a promotion, but they kept showing it as strategist on TV. So we'll go with that one. But that team is just set up. They're just a strong team and only getting stronger. So I would not be the least bit surprised to see Pato as well. But he needs to close out races. And that's something he's still learning to do at the IndyCar level, is get the races closed out. Now, obviously, strategy kind of bit him in the butt this time, and then tire degradation did as well. But it's one race. But I would, if he won, I would love to see him win it. I think that would be awesome to see somebody outside of the Penske Ganassi realm of things take the championship. I think that'd be awesome, especially coming from a young driver like Pato O'Ward.
Now, as you know, speaking of young drivers, we talked about a little bit before the Rookie of the Year. There's only one rookie that's going to be running the full schedule this year. So, I mean, I don't know the logistics of. I mean, I guess it's just Rookie of the Year doesn't really have to necessarily be like points. It can be like who
I thought it was, because they kept showing last year or a couple of years ago the Rookie of the Year point standings.
I guess. I mean,
but how do you do that this year if only one person is running full time?
Right. So, I mean, the easy choice here, and that's what I went with because I don't know really that it can be different here, and that's Scott McLaughlin. He's, like I said, the only rookie running full schedule. But you know what? I think of the two that are not full schedule that could still potentially win it if it's not based on just points and it's based on... Because, like, when I think Rookie of the Year, I think of, like, the other sports where it's not necessarily... the stats. I mean, it is the stats, but it also is not the stats at the same time. It can also be like, hey, they had some good moments, they had some fun. Who had the biggest impact while also having the stats to back them up. I think it could be Jimmy Johnson. I think that he's definitely not one to sleep on. I think he can run because I think he can run really well at some of these road courses, and I think he's going to have a fun season. So I mean, if there's somebody, I mean, there's only 3 rookies this year, and only one's running full time. But if there's one driver that's not going full time that I'm going to throw my hat in there for, it's Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, I like the Scott McLaughlin pick, but I'm trying to pull up. I'm trying to get the full results here. Okay, race results. Where did he finish? Oh, okay. I'm gonna say Roman Grosjean. He was the highest scoring rookie, the highest finishing rookie this past weekend. He was in the top 10. He was in the was he in the Fast 9? I don't believe so. Hold on. I can tell you. Grosjean was, where was he? I don't know. I'm not finding it right now. But gosh, why do I not see his name? That's weird. Oh, wait. No, that can't be right. They have him as the pole winner. ESPN, get your act together.
Oh yeah, well, don't look at ESPN for anything that's not
other than like final results.
Yeah. But let's see, Grosjean. I'm looking him up as well. He was 10th.
Oh, he started 7th. So he was just right outside the Fast 6.
Yeah.
He's an open wheel driver. First off, so he's not having between McLaughlin and Johnson, they're both having to figure out the open wheel style and how to handle an open wheel car. They both supercar and stock car, not open wheel. Whereas Grosjean is coming from open wheel, and he doesn't have the best equipment underneath him running for Dale Coyne, but he was up there. He was up there in the top, running around the top 5 most of the day, and I just honestly think that he's going to be a player by the time the season comes to a close. Is he going to be a player for the championship? No, he's not. But he's going to be somebody that I think he could potentially ruin somebody's opportunity of winning a race to help them in the championship race, if that makes sense. I think he's got the best chance to do that. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him actually get a podium this year, whether it's the top of the podium or not. I would not be the least bit surprised to see him up there just because he's got that open wheel experience.
Well, it'll be a fun season to watch. Very excited to see how this IndyCar year turns out. Of course, they're going to be are they at St. Pete this weekend or no? Where are they at this weekend?
They are.
They're at St. Pete this weekend.
St. Pete.
And then, of course, we're almost to the month of May, which will be obviously super fun as well. And we'll have a lot of stuff to talk about then as well. But yeah, very excited to see how this IndyCar season turns out. But now let's shift gears a little bit over to the NFL real quickly before we wrap up for the night. The Cincinnati Bengals today did unveil some new jerseys. I will put them up on the screen right now. Where still, I mean, not super different from what we're used to seeing. I mean, I think the biggest difference is their away jersey, which goes to kind of they're more now along the way of their color rush jerseys. That's basically kind of what they're trending towards, and it kind of looks a little old as well. In the chat here, Dusty Up says that the Bengals jerseys remind him of the Atlanta Falcons a little bit, and I can kind of see where he gets that. But yeah, the away jersey is probably the biggest difference. And it kind of looks more like it did in the John Kitna era as far as away jerseys go. And then before they put the big, I don't know what you call them, like the orange and black on the shoulder pads. And then you got the of course the orange jerseys as well as the the orange and black alternates. and then of course the all black uniforms that they can sometimes wear, and then it kind of is a nice blend of the old style that you saw before, maybe the Carson Palmer era, while also looking a little bit modern as well. So I'm actually a pretty big fan of those jerseys. I think they're I am liking the trend, and you'll kind of see that coming up in the draft, of teams kind of going back to their roots while also making them look kind of like new, if that makes sense, like kind of a new spin on their old look. Because I think that's what the NFL does really well, as far as like paying homage to their past while also, taking a look at their future. So I do like the Bengals jerseys a lot. They're not super different, but they're definitely not doing too much, as we've seen kind of in years past with other teams. Like the Jaguars and the Buccaneers, before the Buccaneers switched back and the Jaguars did as well. Nothing too, outside of the box, just kind of, a new spin on an old look.
Yeah, I mean, I like them. They're not crazy. I think it tones down a little bit what they had going before, and I think it makes it a little bit more simple. And I'm a fan of that.
Yeah.
So, hey, I guess Bengals fans just need something to be excited about, right?
Exactly.
New uniforms.
Hey, I mean.
So, hey, for all of you that went out last year and bought that Joe Burrow jersey,
now you gotta buy another one. Oh my god! Oh my god! I didn't even think about that. That's probably why they're like, you know what? We're gonna draft Joe Burrow. Everyone's gonna buy a Joe Burrow jersey, and then we're gonna change uniforms the next year, so that way everybody has to go rebuy their jerseys. Oh my gosh!
Great marketing ploy.
I mean,
come on, why not?
That's fantastic.
And people will go out and get the same player's jersey, but in the new design.
That's actually incredible. I didn't even think about that side of it, but yeah, I mean, hey, gotta get that.
Excellent business move.
Yes, exactly. So that brings us to an idea I thought of. I thought, hey, we're gonna be talking about the NFL draft the next couple of weeks, where we go into like some mock drafts, and then we'll obviously be reacting to the draft after it happens. But I was like, you know what? Since they're unveiling those new uniforms, let's do a draft of the NFL's best uniforms. What we think is going to be the best. So we're gonna draft those. B. Scott, I'm gonna do a random number generator. Pick a number between 1 and 10.
7.
Okay, my number is gonna be 5. So the number that's the closest, watch, it's gonna be 6. Oh no, it's 9. So you get the first pick in the uniform draft. So we're not going to really include like throwbacks in these. So we're going to just go on basically what you'd see, just on a given Sunday, which I guess you would see throwbacks on a given Sunday too, but just, on any other week, what you would see out there on the NFL field. So B. Scott, you'll go first, then you'll go me, and we'll just alternate.
All right. So, wow, this is tough. Where do I go? The one that I like this the most. I know some people don't, but I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Rams at number 1.
Yeah, I was going to be my first pick too. So
I know a lot of people honestly would say that the LA Chargers. I'm not a big fan of the powder blue though. I'm not. I don't really like it. But the Rams, there's just something about that, going back to the old royal blue, not the dark navy that you saw from St. Louis during the greatest show on turf, but the numbers, it just looks like a sunrise over the beach. I don't know. I will tell you this. When I had to pick a new team in Madden because the Colts released me after winning a Super Bowl, I definitely chose the Rams because I was like, those uniforms are pretty sweet. I like them.
Man, the Colts Trent Dilfer you. They're just like, you know what? You did all
what, you win an MVP and a Super Bowl? Guess what? We would much rather have Jameis Winston.
Oh my gosh. Well, no, that is when I thought of this idea earlier, this morning. We called it an audible. We had another idea for this segment, and we're like, actually, this sounds like a really fun idea. That it was with the Rams jerseys in mind. Like, I was like, they're unanimous first round. Who you should have as your number 1 pick. Because I mean,
what's honestly, funny, NBC Sports has them ranked as the 4th best.
Oh wow. Well, see, and the thing is for me is that like I think the Rams in general have had good uniforms throughout their history. Whether it's been the when they were the royal blue and the gold, and they went to the navy and the dark blue, or the navy and the gold, yeah. And then back. I think across the board, their jerseys have all and their uniform in general has always been good. So I really like their new ones. And yeah, you're right. A lot of people didn't like it. Got a lot of backlash last year when it came out. But I
Well,
am a
the
big fan
helmet
as well.
logo alone, it is what it means.
Yeah.
Like those are ram horns.
Yeah.
Like you look at it like, oh, that's a ram.
Right.
Well, duh. I mean, that's what's awesome about it.
Yeah. So I'm with you on that one. That's I'm kind of mad. I was hoping you might be like one of the haters of that Rams one, so I could have them with the first pick. But you know what? That's fine because you're what you were between on the first on the first who you're gonna go with at number one is who I'm gonna take with my first pick, and that is the LA Chargers because I'm there too. I actually am the opposite in the sense that I do like the powder blue a little bit more. I think they did a great job. Of like I said, reincorporating kind of that old school look, and then bringing back that kind of modern feel to it. So I do like the way their jerseys look. Bringing back the powder blue, even back in the day when they had Drew Brees and it was like the navy and the more and the navy and gold looked good as well. They've had good.
They can still have that Drew Brees jersey.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's.
Yeah.
Those looks have always been sleek. So both teams that are in LA have had a history of great uniforms. So I think those are solid first round picks by us. You with the Rams, me with the Chargers. I'm digging it.
All right, so my next pick, I'm going more traditional on this pick. I'm going with the Green Bay Packers. That is, you can't screw that one up. That one's never going to change. Now, if we were talking throwbacks, them and Pittsburgh, horrible, horrible. But Green Bay, it's one of those I considered Green Bay because just the tradition, that I don't know, it's just so strong together. That logo, it's simple, and I love it, and it's never going to change, which is awesome.
I'm with you. Yeah. So the way me being the classic overthinker when I was thinking about this segment today, I was like, I'm gonna go through each division and I'm gonna pick two teams that I like from that division.
Oh, we got the spreadsheets out.
Yeah,
and
then I kind of narrowed it down from there, and the Packers were like on there pretty high too because that traditional look. So there's some teams that I went through and I thought pretty hard on this one. Number two for me, I'm gonna go with the Seattle Seahawks. I'm keeping it.
Ooh.
You don't like this. You don't.
I know. I love.
Okay, I was gonna say. I think
love the Seahawks.
I think the Seahawks have done a great job. They you look back, they did kind of what I knocked other teams for, but they came back strong. In the sense that they had a great look back in the early Sean Alexander days. I
didn't like that look.
You didn't like the teal, or not teal, but the like light blue and the silver. See, no. I like that look a lot. And then they went to like that really like dark forest green, like weird looking look. And then they kind of and then they went to the look that they have now with the dark green and then the neon green trim and then the gray pants, and then they have their gray road jerseys, which I like really well. So they've done a great job of kind of taking. They did what the Bills did. They and the Bills both had those like really dark, like supposed to be modern looking jerseys back in the early 2000s, and both have come back strong with good jerseys. So Seattle Seahawks. I think are an easy number two for me. The NFC West in general just has great uniforms, but I'm going to go Seattle Seahawks with my number two pick.
What's awesome about the Seattle Seahawks is I believe ownership is the same between them and the MLS team, the Seattle Sounders, who also play in the same stadium.
Yeah.
The colors are identical.
Right.
They use the same color schemes, and I'm a Seattle Sounders fan because of the color schemes. I just think, I don't know, it's just something about it. It's like, that's awesome. All right, so number three for me, I'm actually going to go with the Minnesota Vikings at 3. Not really because of the purple of their uniforms and everything. I love everybody in the NFL has shiny, shiny helmets. Shiny, 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 shiny.
Ooh,
But
I like where you're
the
going with
Minnesota
this.
Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings have taken it to a level that I think is awesome. I love it on race cars. Um, who was it this past one of the drivers at IndyCar actually has it with their car, but the matte paint scheme. They have matte purple helmets. And I just think it's awesome. And it, again, the logo on it is simplistic as well. You can tell it's a Viking horn, like what Vikings wore on the side of their helmets.
Yeah.
I really like that. Um, but just the matte of the helmet, that's awesome. That's so cool. It's not the shiny anymore. I really like that. I know people don't really like that style anymore, but I'm like, oh come
Oh,
on, that's awesome.
I dig it as well. There's a few teams in Major League Baseball that have matte batting helmets, and it looks pretty sleek as well. Like the matte look, I'm a fan of for sure. It's a good look. Um, for me at number three, I can't let them slip any further. You talked about traditional with the Packers. Along those same lines, Indianapolis Colts. I mean, you talk about traditional uniforms that date all the way back to the beginning of the league and even before. You think of the Indianapolis Colts, that simple blue jerseys with the white trim and the white pants. I mean, you look at old film. It's I think that's what's cool about like looking at some of that like old film with like Johnny Unitas. They're like playing the New York Giants and stuff like that, and it's literally looks like. I
It's
mean,
identical.
yeah, it looks identical to what you see today, pretty much, and so it's just so cool to see, through the years, all the players that have basically put on that exact uniform, for the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah,
So yeah, going on the same lines is like traditional. It's not going to change, but still looks good, and it's going to look good in really any time period that you play in. It's the Indianapolis Colts.
yeah, and I love how they've just made tiny tweaks here and there, like the stripe on the helmet, or
The face
they've kind of
mask.
blocked the face. Oh God, I'm glad they got rid of the blue face mask.
Yeah,
I hated that. That was horrible. But the face mask, and I like the new logo, the blocking of the horseshoe a little bit more. It's not so rounded. That's really
yeah,
cool. All right, I'm on four.
yeah. You're on four.
Yeah,
We're doing
four.
five
All
picks,
right,
by the way.
okay. I'm going with the Buffalo Bills.
Ooh.
Their new uniforms. It's just the white helmet. I love it. I just think that's awesome. I mean, it's kind of rugged and tough, but new age rugged and tough, and it just kind of fits the city of Buffalo. I don't know why. I don't know, but like when they come rolling out there in the white helmets and in the middle of a snowstorm, it's so cool. But the they kept the logo has stayed the same. I got a list of pictures here, but the logo stayed the same. It used to be a blue helmet,
Yeah.
right, with a white buffalo with the red stripe.
No, so back in like the
Oh, it
OJs,
was
back in like these, because that was actually gonna be one of my, like I had them on my draft board as well because of the fact that again they kind of took the old concept and made it modern because it was the red buffalo with the white helmet and the blue jerseys, and then they went to red helmet, blue buffalo.
yes, that's
For
the one
like
I'm
that was
thinking
like
of.
the Doug Flutie days. That's the Super Bowl days.
Yeah,
The why can't I think of the quarterback through all those Super Bowl teams? I'm blanking on his name right now. I think it's Jim something. Why can't I think of his name right now? Anyway, um, you know,
no,
no, no. Well,
Coach Wright.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, yeah. Um, I'm gonna just look up Buffalo Bills Super Bowl quarterback here. Quarterback. It's Jim. Jim Kelly. Like, why couldn't I think of that?
Yeah,
Um,
uh,
but yeah, Jim Kelly. Those helmets back in the day, and then they went. When they had Drew Bledsoe, they went to more of that, like kind of like what the Seahawks did, where they went like really dark with their color scheme. Really dark blue jerseys. And then over time, they kind of went away from that and went towards what you see now with with the blue jerseys and the white helmets, and sometimes the red jerseys, which are pretty sleek as well. So I think it's a strong choice at number 4. I'm surprised it went that low, to be honest.
I don't really have any. I don't have too much rhyme or reason to what I do with my life. So
Number 4 for me, and this is just the last. I've taken, and I feel very validated because all the ones that are off the board are ones that I considered as well. So I'm glad that like we have similar tastes or along the same lines. I'm not going too off the reservation here. But for me, and this may be actually one that is off the reservation, but I do like their jerseys. And that is the Washington football team. I kind of like and that's the 2020 iteration. I know obviously if we're talking about before 2020, it can be a little risque for me to say that. But as far as just having the red and then the gold on the helmets with the numbers and then just kind of that simple red and gold look with the jerseys and the pants, I mean, I think their jerseys actually don't look too bad. I mean, obviously it's going to change. They're coming out with new name ideas, every day, trying to figure out what they're going to call the team moving forward. But I think the Washington football team jerseys do look pretty good. So I mean, it's very simple, but I think they actually do look pretty slick.
yeah, okay. So
Last pick.
I'm having a tough time. Okay, my 5th pick. This one might not seem like. So I'm torn between either Baltimore, Pittsburgh, or Carolina.
Okay, well there's 2 right answers there, and there's 1 wrong answer, and I'll tell you if the answer that you pick is the wrong one or one of the right ones.
I'm going with the Carolina Panthers.
Okay, that's one of the right ones. I would have. It's a good one. I like the. So when I was doing my tedious going through each division and stuff like that earlier today, I was like, okay, I came down to like the Panthers and Lions at one point, and I was like, well, I'll pick the Panthers over the Lions because they do the silver and blue look just a little bit better, even though the Lions is
different blue.
Well, right, but I mean, it's just I like how they wear those blue jerseys. I think they look slick. Even like there's not a jersey combination that they have that I don't really like. Like they all look good. So the Panthers are a good choice.
And it hasn't really changed much since they've come into the league, which is nice as well. But for some reason, anytime I think of like, oh, I'm going to Charlotte, I'm flying into Charlotte, the colors that pop into my mind are Carolina Panthers colors.
Yeah. So
that's kind of given me, they've kind of given that city a color scheme. So I don't know. It's just, it's simple. The logo is, in my opinion, it's one of the most detailed logos in all of the NFL. I mean, I know Tampa Bay got the big flag and everything, and it's detailed. But, I mean, just look at that Panthers logo. It looks like it's literally popping off the helmet. And I think that's really, really cool. So I'm going with the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to say the wrong one was the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes.
Okay, so for me, the Pittsburgh Steelers, I like it because it's traditional. But I can't figure out why do you have the logo only on one side of the helmet?
Yeah, it's that. It is traditional. I don't know. I just am not a big fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers jerseys just in general. I mean, they're all right. I mean, it's just
black.
It's just kind of boring. I mean, it's not any. It's traditional but boring. That's. It's kind of like
I don't even know if there's a reason why they only have it on one side of their helmet.
It's like the Bears to me. The Bears have okay jerseys. They're just kind of boring to me. Just kind of navy and silver, or navy and the orange C on the helmet, and there you go.
Burnt orange and dark blue.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you couldn't have gone wrong with either of those 2 choices with the Panthers or otherwise. So.
Or Baltimore.
Baltimore, there we go. Yeah.
Baltimore's got some great combos.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that would be a good choice for number 5. For me, I'm trying to, I'm coming down to the nitty gritty here. I'm between 2 choices, both of which are in Florida. And I think the way I'm going to lean is towards the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think that's going to be my choice at number 5. I wanted to pick the Dolphins, but here's the knock I give the Dolphins and the Cowboys. So the Dolphins and Cowboys both have obviously traditional uniforms. Dating back to, however, it's kind of like what we talked about with the Colts and that kind of thing as well. But the thing that I knock the Cowboys and the Dolphins for is that their best jersey combinations they don't wear because they predominantly wear their road unis. The Cowboys navy jerseys with the silver helmets and even with the white helmets they wear on Thanksgiving, and the Dolphins with their teal or orange jerseys and white pants. I mean, those are sick whenever they wear them. But instead, and I understand it's because it's hot, and they, obviously they want to give themselves the advantage and the opponent the disadvantage of being in their home, dark jerseys. But still, I'm docking points for not wearing your best jerseys just to gain a strategical advantage. So I'm going with the Buccaneers, who I guess also technically do that too, but you know what? It's neither here nor there. But with the Buccaneers, the Buccaneers, that pewter look, it's just different. It's that pewter, kind of that brownish, helmet with the burgundy maroon, whatever you'd call that. I'm not good with the technical names of the colors. Jerseys, and then the brown pants. And then even when they go all white, it looks good as well. Or the maroon and white. They have a lot of simple combinations, but they look really good. They came out with a new pewter brown jerseys this year, which were pretty slick as well. And then I like it. They had the orange jerseys back in the day, then they went to the ones they have now, and then they went away from that, and the jerseys looked really bad. So I'm also going to give them brownie points for making the right decision and going back to the jerseys that looked better. So they're my choice at number 5. I wanted to go with the Dolphins as well, but I'm not giving you points. It's kind of like another team I considered was the Patriots, but the Patriots have been going backwards. As you go back throughout their history, their jerseys get better. Their jerseys now are kind of bland. Their jerseys through all the Super Bowl runs were, they were good looking jerseys. I liked their jerseys back in the 90s when they had the Patriot on the shoulder, and then of course they have some of the best throwback jerseys with the red and the Patriot snapping the football. So I think the Patriots are going in the wrong direction, but I'm going with the Buccaneers as my 5th pick.
I like it.
Now, as far as worst uniform in the league, there's really only 2 answers to this. So I'm gonna give mine, and then I'm gonna see if B. Scott knows the other one that I'm thinking of. So for me, worst jersey in the league, I'm gonna go with the Jaguars, and the reason why is because
you have to figure it out.
Yeah, well, precisely. So when the Jaguars came into the league, when you think of the Jacksonville Jaguars, you think Mark Brunell. The jerseys that they wore back in the Mark Brunell days, the David Garrard days.
And I'm still kicking myself for not asking Mark Brunell for his jersey.
Right. The Byron Leftwich days, the Josh Scobie days, the Fred Taylor days. I'll just name all the old Jaguars greats. You had
Jags were good.
Yeah. Hey, back in the honestly, the earlier in the franchise you go, the better they were. So back in those days, the black helmets with the Jaguar, and then you have the teal jerseys and the white pants, and they're all black uniforms looked really good, even though when they wore those, they're usually beating the Colts. Those just look
Maurice Jones-Drew.
Right, yeah, Maurice Jones-Drew as well. So those jerseys were really great, and then they went to the two-tone helmets, which was the gold in the back and the black in the front, and it was the reason why it was two-tone was it was supposed to signify a jaguar coming out of the darkness, but the jaguar was going in to the gold part of the it was the jaguar coming out of the darkness into the light, but the light part of the helmet was in the back, which was the opposite of the way the logo was facing. So it was actually the opposite of what they intended. It looked completely terrible. It sucks that was the jersey that they almost made the Super Bowl in, because that would have just been obviously they'd take a Super Bowl win, but it would stink if those are the jerseys they wanted. And then now they've gone back, but the thing is now, instead of going back and be you know what, that was a mistake, we're going to go back to the Mark Brunell jerseys, those were clearly the best. they're now like, oh, okay, fine. We can see that that's the best, but we can't go all the way back. So we're just gonna do just like basically what looks like a teal practice jersey with their old helmets. So I think that for me, that's why they're the worst ones in the league. Just because I'm docking them points for having for again going in the wrong direction.
Wow, so it's on me now to figure out who the.
Well, no, I mean you can pick whoever you want. I'm just trying to see if you're thinking along the same lines as me.
For me, it comes down to either the Titans or the Jets.
Ooh, I forgot about the Titans. Titans, another team that went in the wrong direction. I'm so mad they got rid of their jerseys.
The Eddie George, Steve McNair era was amazing uniforms. Yeah. Amazing.
Yes.
Like
I forgot completely about
that. Now, not so much.
No.
So I think I'm going to go with the Jets.
Yeah, that was who I was thinking of too. That was who I was between because it's the old school look, but they just didn't do a good job with it.
Yeah, too many lines. I don't know.
I think it also
goes along with how that organization really is.
That's what I was gonna say. It's also doesn't help that they're also terrible, so that doesn't help their case.
In NBC Sports Power Rankings, the Jets are 32nd.
Shocker! So, even though they tried to make all those splashes in the offseason, and they still are.
I loved the Jets of the Vinny Testaverde era uniforms. Those were great.
Yeah.
Because they were good, and the Jets were actually good then.
Yeah.
Or heck, you know what? Let me go back to the Rex Ryan-led Jets. Back the team that beat Peyton in his last game as an Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah.
The Bart Scott era. Those uniforms, I liked those.
Yeah.
Those were good.
The white helmets with the Jets
the green,
like those looked really those looked really good.
Those. And then the green jerseys with the kind of were blocked out in certain areas with white. Basically, if you want to see it, just tell Craig you can't wait for something.
Yeah.
And he will send that
GIF.
You'll see him.
Yeah, the GIF of Bart Scott. Oh my gosh, that was one of our little tags.
That was at one point. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lead-in.
But yeah, I mean, I think the Jets. I like where their heads at because I do like the old green helmets, but just I don't know. Again, like you said, I think you're on the right path. It doesn't help that the team's awful, but also just the fact that I don't know. I feel like it's a good throwback, but not an every weekend jersey. They should alternate it or something. It's kind of how I feel. It's kind of how I feel a little bit about Ball State because I miss Ball State. Their jerseys for the Arizona Bowl, chef's kiss. I love the jerseys they had for the Arizona Bowl.
With the old school Charlie logo.
Yes, I hope they keep those because I dig the fact that they were going for different jerseys and different jersey combinations, but the fact that they were okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go with an all black jersey and it's just gonna say Ball State on the side and have their number on the other side. I'm
that was horrible. I hated that.
I was
that looked cheap.
Because the old school jerseys or the helmets with just the regular Ball State logo and then the red jerseys and the red and the white pants that was the classic look and I dig it and I like it.
Now which ones though? Are we talking the Nate Davis era? Or are we talking the
Joey
Winning?
Well, either. Keith Winning, I think, was a little bit sleeker. I think the Keith Winning era.
Those were the new Nike Pro Combat.
Right.
I think got those.
I think those were a little bit better.
My first year at Ball State, they were still in the ones from Nate Davis.
Yeah.
And then it was the next year that they got into the Nike Pro Combat or maybe it was the year after that.
Yeah. I think they went one more year. It was one more year because they were still in those jerseys my freshman year, which was the year after the undefeated year when literally everybody on campus was like, why is Ball State not good? I thought their football team was good. And I was like, no.
I went up to that first game and I'm like, okay, guys, hold on tight for this. This isn't a Nate Davis team.
Yeah.
And they go out there and they get thumped by North Texas.
Yeah, I was I was in the band that year and people were like, why aren't they good? I'm like, I live this. This is what I've lived for.
This is the normal.
This is how it always goes. See, last year, you see, that was an aberration. This is how it is normally. Although, hey, now they have won a MAC championship. They've won a bowl game, so things are things are turning around. But yeah, if they keep those jerseys that they had in the bowl game and those are their regular home ones,
I do remember the night that they broke out for the first time black jerseys.
Yes.
That was the night that I believe you got kicked out of the press box.
I didn't get kicked out of the press box. It was the first. I covered the game for.
You covered the game for a class.
For a class,
and,
yes.
Luke Martin got his underwear up in a bunch because he thought you were trying to undermine WCRD.
Which, I mean, was definitely a perk. But definitely a perk, but not the reason I was on the field. But, hey, you know what? If there's one thing I'm good at, it's being petty. So, like, I definitely was like, hey, still here. You can't get rid of me that easily.
Can't get rid of me.
Yeah.
I was on the sidelines with you, too, that night. That was a cold night against Ohio, and that was the night Keith Winning almost broke his ankle trying to make a catch.
Did they win or they lost that one?
They won.
Did they win?
They beat Ohio.
Okay. Yeah, because I did it was the fact they wore like all black jerseys. I think I did that.
Well, they didn't wear they wore just the black jerseys, but they wore their white pants.
That's true. And then
I was like, oh, kind of missed the look.
Because I did that. Because I did that for Newslink. I think that's what I did the story for, or whatever. I think. That's
okay,
what
and I was shooting highlights for sports.
Yeah, we were doing like B-roll stuff. So yeah, it was a fun night. I enjoyed that night. So reminiscing. But yeah, I think if they keep those jerseys that they had in the Arizona Bowl, I'd be a happy camper. But yeah, that will do it for this week's edition of the Crash Course Podcast. Thank you guys all for listening, watching, wherever you were. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at Crash Course FM, like us on Facebook, Crash Course Podcast. Remember, you can subscribe to us on YouTube, 3C Media. We're at 30 subscribers, so if you haven't checked it out yet over there, that's where you can catch the MCT podcast, or YouTube exclusive podcast. Those guys are killing it, as well as the the video release of our podcast as well every week. And then remember, you can also listen to us on wherever podcasts can be heard. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify is where you can catch the Crash Course Podcast every week. B. Scott, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Brandon_Scott87.
Well, that will do it for this week. Next couple of weeks, we'll be getting into the draft. Next week, we'll be doing kind of a mock draft.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, B. Scott is excited for that. I mean, I'm excited too, but that's like
I have to figure out how to tone it back.
Right. Yeah,
you know me, I could probably go for like the full 7 rounds, like of 3 days worth.
Right.
Keep going.
So we'll kind of do, I think, similar to what we did last year with the mock draft and kind of go through it that way. And, of course, we'll be reacting to the draft as well in a couple of weeks. So a lot of NFL-centric content for you on the way, so you won't want to miss it. But until then, have a good one, everybody.